Welcome back. All right, so continuing my look at my favorite players from various franchises. The last time I did this was 5 years ago, so I have never done this with the Seattle Kraken. So that's kind of fun. They've just been in the league 4 years, so there's going to be a number of players that I feature here who are currently members of the Seattle Kraken and also some who have moved along. Number 20 on the list is one of those who has moved along. A defensive defenseman made his way to the New York Rangers, and that is Will Borggan. Look at that, I got a piece of magnet stuck right here. I've been cutting out magnets all day, so this board's had magnet sheet on it all day. Anyways, Will Borggan. Very good defensive defenseman. I'm glad that he's got a decent paying contract at this point in time. He paid his dues to get there. Of course, he was grabbed from Buffalo, I do believe, by Seattle, and played pretty darn well for them. So, number 20 on the list is the aforementioned Will Borggan. Number 19. I gotta remember how to spell this, because it never looks right. So, over the 4 seasons that Philip Grubauer has played so far in Seattle, he has had his struggles at times. This past season, he definitely had his struggles. The Seattle Kraken vowing to, keep him. They did not buy him out. They decided they're going to give him another chance. They're going to try to keep him going and get him back on track. And Grubauer has shown previously that he has the talent to do that. He showed it in Washington. He showed it in Colorado. I hope he does have the bounce back. Grubauer is a goaltender that I like both in Colorado and Washington, so he's on the board there. Number 18 is also a goaltender who one would possibly forget played for Seattle. Martin Jones came in and played, I believe it was due to injury that they bring in Martin Jones. His record was very good. Martin Jones, the last couple of go-arounds he had in the National Hockey League, his stats weren't great. But the reality is his win-loss record was. So his save percentage wasn't necessarily great. You're not getting a lot of quality starts. But he kept winning games. So Martin Jones earned a lot of respect from me. I don't think I've done a career of Martin Jones video. That needs to be done. I think that would make for a very interesting video, including his time in Seattle. And, Martin Jones gave them enough goaltending to win, that they were able to win with him in net. So I thought that was kind of fun. Number 17, a former member of the team as well. I believe he's in Tampa at this point, and that's Oliver Borkstrand. When they picked up Borkstrand from Columbus, I thought Columbus might be making a mistake in losing Borkstrand, and I thought Borkstrand being he, gave Seattle exactly what they were looking for with some goal scoring, definitely some offensive ability, and he was a popular player while he was there. Borkstrand is one of those players that doesn't get as much attention as others who score around the same amount of goals that he does, but the ability's there, and I thought he played pretty well for Seattle during his time there. Number 16. So he hasn't played that long in Seattle, but Brandon Montour. You have some good offense on that blue line in Seattle with Evans, Montour, and Dunn. So Brandon Montour, solid, very good defenseman. He's one of those defensemen, too, that started slow and then came on and has played really well over the last couple of years. And been nice to watch him playing for Seattle so far. Looking forward to seeing what he's able to do this coming season. So, moving on to number 15. And a fan favorite who I think has more to offer, Tai Cartier. Tai Cartier, I think, should get a little more ice time, a little more opportunity with the Seattle Kraken this coming season, and may very well find himself moving up on this list the next time I do this, which by my timing is apparently probably 5 years from now. But yeah, Cartier, good forward, energy forward, bottom 6 forward so far, but there is that potential there. Cartier could move his way up the lineup. He definitely has some offensive ability there. We'll see if it leads to more goals and points for him in 2025-2026. Moving on to 14. Another defenseman who is able to provide some points. Riker Evans had a better start to the season than finish, but he showed all the way through that, yeah, he's an NHL defenseman. And while the debate was out there at the time that Seattle drafted him about whether they drafted him too high, was he going to develop? He has developed. And he's become a good defenseman. And on the day I'm recording this, August 11th, he actually signed an extension. I just didn't feel like that was worthy of a news video all in and of itself. That way people go in the comment section and, why didn't you report on Evans' extension? I'm not psychic. I keep telling people I'm not psychic. I can't report on things before they happen. How much better would the channel do if I was psychic? If I could give you the review the day before the games take place? Well, this is what happens, but I can't. And I couldn't have predicted that Riker Evans would sign that extension. But that is a very team-friendly extension by Evans. And so it really is, with just a couple of years on it. It's an opportunity for him to really cash in a couple of years down the road. And it's a good motivator for him. Number 13. One of the former members of the team. But he played well for them. And I felt like should be on the list. Alex Wenberg. Wenberg, a player who has done a good job in his role, usually on a third line. That's been the case with Wenberg. My love for third liners is well known, well documented everywhere on this channel. And when we're looking through these my favorite 20 player lists across every team, if you guys count third liners, you're gonna end up with a lot of guys. I've explained this before. The players who have to try harder, the players who maybe they're not as gifted as some of the others on the team, those are the ones I very often end up rooting for, and Wenberg's kind of in that category. Number 12, as we continue our way up the list. And I love this player's development. I think he's ready to hit another level this year. Shane Wright. So I believe last year and this year I picked Shane Wright as a breakthrough candidate on Seattle. And I did see an LOL comment for that. The reality is Shane Wright did have a good season this year for Seattle. He did take that progression. I think he's ready to progress further. That's why I picked him again. Because I feel like, okay, he did achieve some of his goals this past season. There's still plenty left to do. And I think he's capable of doing it. So Shane Wright took his time. And Seattle took their time with Wright as well. Kind of an unusual way of doing it. They played him in the AHL a bit. They made him a healthy scratch. They kept him around the team. They eventually demoted him. But it's worked. He's an NHL player. And by the end of the season, he didn't look out of place in a top 6 role. Number 11. Player they kind of stole from Nashville, and that's Ellie Tolvin. And now Tolvin in this past season, not as strong as the previous year. Maybe it's just a down year. Maybe he bounces back. But Tolvinen's been a good foot soldier for Seattle since he arrived there. One thing about expansion, and I know people talk about, it waters everything down. I don't think so. I think it gives players like Tolvinen a chance that otherwise maybe they don't get. Maybe Tolvinen doesn't get claimed on waivers if Seattle doesn't take him. Maybe he ends up staying in Nashville. I'm not going to do a what if, I promise. But it's just one of those examples of how having more teams in the NHL gives a player like this more of a chance. Number 10. Player I liked in Dallas, and now I like him in Seattle, although I don't think he ends up on the Dallas list, and that's Jamie Alexiaak. Jamie Alexiaak, very strong player, very big player, and I think he's improved as the seasons have gone along. Initially in his career, he was a bit shaky. There were definitely some concerns I had with Alexiak's game, but those concerns are gone now. I kind of wish he was still in Dallas, but Seattle's taking good care of him. I believe he's a pending unrestricted free agent next summer, so we'll see if he ends up going anywhere, but I think Seattle probably finds a way to keep him. Number 9, a player who is now gone, but while he was with Seattle, he gave them exactly what they wanted from him in the expansion draft. Yanni Gourd probably played a more prominent role for Seattle than he was used to. Played a lot of minutes, but he played pretty well. And Yanni Gourd, with the experience he had from Tampa, I think that benefited the team. And so, yeah, he gets his contract with the Tampa Bay Lightning this summer. I'm sure Seattle fans wish him well. He definitely played well enough for Seattle during his time there. He's number 9 on the board for me. Number 8, another veteran. Jordan Eberle. I think when I watch Seattle broadcasts, I might hear Eberle's name more than any other Seattle player. He is put out there in all situations and has never, to my knowledge, ever said, hey, you know, I'm getting to that point in my career. I'd like to have a chance to win a cup. I don't know if I'm going to get that here in Seattle. Could I be traded? Nope. So Jordan Eberle has been very good for Seattle. We'll see how much longer he's a member of the Seattle Kraken, but Eberle has provided them with the kind of leadership that you need with a new team in the National Hockey League. Moving on to number 7, goaltender. So he was an honorable mention when I did the video on who I believed are the best goaltenders in the National Hockey League. Joey Daccord, if he has another season like the one he just had, will be in the top 20 next year. I do want to see it for that second season and see how he does, where teams are maybe going to be a little more aware. We'll see if his numbers are the same next year, if they drop off at all. But Joey Daccord has fought his way through multiple seasons in the minors, and now he's getting that opportunity at the NHL level. And Daccord is the latest example of how goaltenders, sometimes they take a little bit longer, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world if a goaltender takes a little bit longer than somebody else. Daccord, a good example of a goaltender that you don't necessarily want to give up on if you have him in your fantasy. So just throwing that out there. I do think that if Seattle ends up going to the playoffs, Daccord is going to be a big part of the reason why. Number 6, a former Vancouver Canuck. Now, I've heard rumors this summer about Jared McCann and whether or not he's going to be on the move from Seattle. I think part of the reason that rumor would be out there is he is on a very absorbable contract. I think he's only got a $5 million cap hit, and considering the production he's had since he got to Seattle, that is a very team-friendly cap hit. So you're not going to have a hard time finding a team which is able to take that on. In fact, while I'm just throwing this out there, his former team, Vancouver, needs help down the middle, and Jared McCann can play at center. Seattle's not that far from Vancouver. That being said, I don't think there's any chance of McCann ever going back to Vancouver, but stranger things have happened. I also don't think there's much of a chance of McCann leaving Seattle. If they're going to get back into the hunt for the playoffs and get above the line, McCann's going to need to get back to the production he had before. And I think if they traded McCann, they have to get a forward back that can produce like him. So since that forward may very well cost more money, I don't know how that would work for them, how that logically makes sense for Seattle, but we'll see what happens. McCann, still at this point, a member of the Kraken. Number 5 on the list. There we are. I mentioned him in another list. I'm mentioning him here because I love Brandon Tanev's game. I've mentioned this before. I'm saying it again. Energy player, third line player, can play on the fourth line. And when you need a bit of a boost of energy down the stretch in a game, Tanev can be a guy you throw it on the ice. So if you're up by 1 goal with 5 minutes left, throw Tanev out there. Get him out there forechecking. And with the last name Tanev, he plays the game fearlessly. That's just, it seems to be in their DNA. Between he and Chris, both players I like quite a bit. I'm sad Brandon Tanev's never played for Vancouver, to be honest. Chris did, and I love Chris Tanev in Vancouver. Brandon Tanev, I think I would have as well, but Seattle's close to Vancouver. It's 2.5 hour drive, depending on traffic. Number 4 on the list, a defenseman who may very well at this point in time in his career be a bit underrated. Adam Larson, and I'm considering doing an underrated video at some point over the next couple of weeks, maybe to post while I'm on vacation. But and yeah, I could put Jake Sanderson first, sure. But at any rate, Adam Larson, I think has played the best hockey of his career since arriving in Seattle. He was playing well in Edmonton before arriving in Seattle, and Seattle just took him. They're like, all right, well, we'll take this player from Edmonton, and he has been very good for them and surprisingly productive. The second half of the season this past year, very productive for Seattle. And so he can play kind of a little bit of every kind of role you want in a defenseman. I don't know if Larson's ever really lived up to that 4th overall billing from his draft year, but he's ended up being a pretty darn good defenseman. 3rd on the list. Now, I don't think we've seen the best from Matty Baneers yet, but as two-way forwards go, Baneers is very good. And I think that Matty Baneers has star potential. I'm not going to say superstar, because superstar to me is like, McDavid, Kaprizov, and all them. But I think he can be a star two-way forward. I think we're looking at sort of like what Anthony Cirelli is in Tampa, but with a little more offense there. I think that can be Matty Baneers. I think he could be a 60, 65 point player. I don't know about point per game. I hope he gets there. But either way, Baneers, a very good forward for them. And maybe gets a little less attention because he plays in Seattle than he would somewhere else. Number 2 on the list. How about Vince Dunn since he arrived in Seattle? He's been fantastic. As long as he stays healthy this year, if you've got Dunn, you've got Evans, and you've got Montour, you've got yourself some offense from the blue line. This is a Seattle team that, yeah, they may end up around middle of the pack, but if they get hot, they get good goaltending from Dord, they could surprise some people. So Vince Dunn, for me, has been quite the story in Seattle. And as I said, if he can stay healthy this coming season, get into, I don't know, the 15 to 20 goal range, maybe 60 points, you might have something going there. So Vince Dunn has been an absolute steal for them since arriving from St. Louis. Which brings us to number 1. And number 1 on the board should not surprise anybody, because I have been a fan of Jaden Schwartz since he played for the St. Louis Blues since the 2019 Cup run. And my like of Jaden Schwartz has never changed. My fandom of him has remained. It is still the one Seattle jersey I have with a number and a name on the back. When I was shopping for a Seattle jersey and I was getting one with a name and number on it, I was like, it's got to be Schwartz. I didn't even really hesitate. So Jaden Schwartz is my favorite member of Seattle. I believe he's an unrestricted free agent next summer. Will he still be a favorite of mine next summer? We'll see. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.